And we're going to do introductions of everyone who is here from Evergreen um, on the meeting right now, but then I will ask everyone, as you start to speak for the first part of the presentation, that you reintroduce yourself as well. I'll start again. Sorry, there's lots of people joining right now. I'll start again. My name is Jen Watkins. I'm the executive director here at Evergreen, and I will hand it off to Brantley.
And my name is Cameron Brantley. I'm the Associate Director for kindergarten through fourth grade. I am also the AIG coordinator, and my last hat that I wear is the parent of a current third grader. And I'm handing it off to Tim.
Hey, I'm Tim Bushnell, and I'm the fifth grade through eighth grade Associate Director, also state testing coordinator, and it's been an awesome year so far. So I'm going to hand it off to Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia Vaughn, Exceptional Children and 504 Coordinator here at Evergreen, and I am handing it off to Kelly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Stevenson. I am Student Services and Data Manager here at Evergreen. I've been in this position for about 3 years, but prior to that, I was a parent at Evergreen for 14 years. So I am going to hand it off to a couple of our VIPs, in my opinion, for this Zoom meeting. We've got some student ambassadors who are joining us this evening. So let's start with you, Lucia. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lucia. I'm an 8th grade student ambassador, and I've been at Evergreen since kindergarten, so that's 9 years, and I'll pass it on to Brody now.
Hi, I'm Brody. Like Lucia, I've been here since kindergarten, and I am going to pass it on to, I don't think anybody else. I think that's the end.
Thank you. Thank you guys for introducing yourselves. I would love to hear from you all who are in the meeting with us. Will you please put your name and the grade level that you're interested in into the chat so we can see who's here? Looks like we actually have a lot of middle grades, like middle elementary grade parents here. So that's cool to see. Right, so we will start today's meeting as we start every gathering at Evergreen. We'll start with our mission statement and a moment of silence, then our mission statement. And I actually will reshare my screen. Hang on a second. Navigating all of the technology things. So we'll take a moment of silence. Evergreen Community Charter School is a learning community committed to the pursuit of excellence in the holistic education of mind, body, and spirit. We prepare students for successful lifelong learning, social responsibility, environmental stewardship, and service. We value the voice of every member of our community. We would love to hear from you again, those of you who are participants. Take a moment and reread the mission statement and then put in the chat a word or a phrase that resonates with you from the mission statement. Please. I see several people mentioning holistic education is one word, one piece that stands out, lifelong learning, valuing every voice in our community. Those are all really very important to us for sure. One thing I love about a mission statement and is that it really does tie together what we're working on and what we're aspiring to here at school. And it's something that we use regularly as a kind of touchstone for why we are here and why we're doing the work we're doing. So we'll move on to the next slide. And we're just, I'm going to introduce charter schools a little bit. Now, you probably know a little bit about charter schools because you are looking at Evergreen as a school. But charter schools in North Carolina are public schools. And I want to make that really clear. We are a public school. There is no tuition to attend Evergreen or any other charter school. Majority of our funding comes from the state of North Carolina, and we have some federal and local funding as well. And then we also do some fundraising here from our community as well. As a public school, we are held to most state accountability measures. We have some flexibility in certain areas because that is why charters were created. But we are responsible for teaching the standard course of study that North Carolina has decided upon for all subjects. We are held to doing testing at the end of the year and standardized testing that the state also wants us to do. That being said, we are more independent. We don't have a central office. We don't have lots of locations, so we can be a little bit more flexible and we can make more decisions on our own. So we have our board of directors and then our admin team, which is me, Cameron, Tim, and Julia, who you see on the screen, are our admin team. And between the board and us, we make most of the decisions for the school. We do that in a way that values the voices in the community. We get input from parents, we get input from teachers, we get input from all staff and from students to help make those decisions as we move through our year every year. I'm going to turn it over to Cameron to talk about our curriculum framework.
Thanks, Jen. And once again, I'm Cameron Brantley, the Associate Director for kindergarten through 4th grade. And Evergreen Community Charter School follows the EL framework. And these are kind of the values or the pieces of that framework, that learning is active. So our kids are up and moving around not only the classroom, but up and moving around our campus. Your kids are going to come home dirty, with dirty hands, dirty clothes. It is challenging. We work really hard to meet the students where they are, determining those starting points and then moving them forward with a real focus on their student growth and that individual growth. It's meaningful. It's authentic. It's tied to what matters to them, tied to what's happening around them. Learning is public. Our students have opportunities to share what they're learning, not only with their peers and their teachers, but also with their parents and the community, the wider community. We have several events throughout the year where students have opportunity to show what they've been learning. We have one coming up at the end of this month called Exhibition Night. And then finally, learning is collaborative. That is an important piece of that learning that is explicitly taught. We don't just assume that kids know how to work together. We teach the skills that they need in order to be successful with that collaborative learning. So what sets us apart? We are an experiential learning school. We would rather have our students doing something than just hearing about it or watching it or getting on a device and exploring it that way. We do that through expeditions, which are long-term, in-depth studies that are seeking to answer guiding questions, deep questions that get kids thinking about big ideas. A big piece of that is field work, and we specifically use that term field work rather than a field trip because when our kids leave campus to go have an experience, they are doing some kind of work that's tied to that expedition. They don't go just to have a good time. It is an important piece of it, but it's also a learning experience. We work really hard to balance an emphasis on academic rigor and character education. That EL framework looks at 3 dimensions of learning. Nope, not yet. 3 dimensions of learning, and one of them being that academic rigor, which we referred to as mastery of knowledge and skills, and then character education, and then quality work are the 3 different dimensions. And each of those are given equal weight and given equal importance in what kids are experiencing in the classroom. Anti-racism is taught to our kids in kindergarten through 8th grade, and it's primarily through the Learning for Justice standards that have been integrated into our expeditions, but it also is taught throughout the day as part of the daily experience in the classroom. Leadership, as Lucia and Brody are prime examples of that. Leadership development is an important piece of what our students are learning and taking away with them as they go on to the next step in their learning. And here's that tie to the mission statement, that environmental stewardship and service, an important piece of what's happening in our classroom. It's part of our mission, and it's very visible in practice. We have kindergartners doing service for Urbana Food Bank. We have 4th graders going out and helping with bird banding, so helping scientists with documenting the bird migrations. And a really recent example of the service that our students are involved in is our middle schoolers helped sponsor a city council candidate forum that just happened, Monday night, and had really good turnout and really good participation by the candidates. And that was our students helping out our community. Now I'm going to turn things over to Lucia, who's going to talk about her favorite expedition and why it was her favorite.
Hi. So my favorite expedition I've done, I think, out of all of the expeditions I've done, has been an expedition that we had towards the end of 7th grade called the Global Citizens Expedition. And so for this expedition, it was trying to teach us everyone in the grade was assigned one country, and these they weren't just any countries, they were the countries that would be the most affected, the most seriously affected by climate change in the next coming years. And so then we did a lot of research just related to that country, and for months and months, and it was just, and then towards the end, we had a whole forum about it, and we were ambassadors of our own country, and it really put into perspective to me kind of what it means to be a global citizen, what it means that the actions that I can do can have what kind of effect that they can have on the entire world, and how that if I can make a change, then that can spark something in everyone else. And now I'm watching this, as an 8th grader, I'm watching the 7th graders go through the same expedition. And I was that was really such an experience to get to learn about this. And that's why the Global Citizens was my favorite expedition.
Thanks, Lucia. Now that other piece that I mentioned, the character education. Our character education at Evergreen is centered around the habits of scholars, and that's what the graphic is there. They are different, sometimes referred to as soft skills that we want students to learn and experience and take away with them when they are ready for that next step in their learning. They are explicitly taught and integrated into the expeditions, and then the crew that I'll talk about here in just a second. And the students even get specific feedback on their progress reports on 3 of them, on craftsmanship, responsibility, and self-regulation. They get a score to see how they're doing with those particular habits. Our students also learn life skills, like Lucia was just mentioning. They're learning things that they are going to take with them and use as they move on and grow as human beings and become positive members of and bring positive change to our community and our society. A piece of our church education is positive discipline, and it is our approach to discipline. We look at behavior, both positive or negative, as communication. And when a student is having difficulty with their behavior, meeting the expectations in the classroom, then we look at that as a learning opportunity, that the student that is struggling needs some skills that they have to learn. And we do that through class meetings that are in the classroom, and they usually happen about once a week, if not more often. And it's a chance for students to bring a problem to the rest of their class and come up with solutions. Positive discipline also has clear expectations and logical consequences. The consequences that students experience are tied specifically to what the behaviors were. And the other piece that comes into play with positive discipline is restorative justice. So something's happened. What are you going to do to make it better? How are you going to fix it? How are you going to restore the relationships and the order that may have been disrupted? Crew is one of the vehicles that all of this happens in. Crew happens in every grade level. There are specific times in 2nd through 8th grade where a smaller group, rather than the whole class, a smaller group of students meet together to work on some of those character skills. It's another place that the learning for justice standards that I mentioned earlier are addressed. And that's done through team building, through initiatives, and a lot of the crews have a service component that's really important part of their crew. Let's see, I think Brody, you're going to talk a little bit about your crew experience.
Thank you. Well, crew means so many things to me because crew is, a once a week occurrence where we all come together and we connect kind of outside of the standard academics, the standard curriculum. And it's a really great way to build like a strong relationship with our teachers and some of our classmates who we normally wouldn't branch out to. And crews are randomized out of a homeroom, and it means so much to me because I built a lot of really strong relationships just from crew. I probably would not have branched out to these people had I not found them out in crew. And one example of a crew activity that we did was actually a talent show. So our crew had one objective, which was to make a talent show all run by us. This was in 6th grade, and then get it out in about 3 months. And we executed it perfectly. So that is one example of a crew, but generally we have all these team building exercises that they're awesome. They're really fun, but it also behind it is all of the connecting. So It's also just a smaller environment, so you're more vulnerable. You can just be more open with your teachers or your classmates. And so that's a couple of the reasons that I really love Crew.
All right, thanks, Brody. So just to reintroduce myself, I'm Tim, and I'm gonna talk to you all a little bit about our enrichment class offerings. And I think it's a great way looking at these offerings and to kind of see what separates Evergreen, what kind of makes us different. So within this, we do have technology class. That doesn't start until second grade, just to be age appropriate. But we also offer music K-8 and art K-8. And it's a really good place to also mention that, like, within your standard music class, your standard art class, they're also definitely weaving in elements of character education, elements of craftsmanship, elements of the learning for justice standards. So it's really about providing rich learning experiences. So take art, for example. Yes, we want kids making awesome art that they can be proud of and that we can share around the school. But that awesome art also comes with really important discussions about culture, maybe cultural appropriation, maybe talking about identity and how artists can be an expression of culture identity, or maybe learning just about history. So there's just so much there that you can do that I think that our enrichment classes, our enrichment teachers work really hard to make that part of the experience. And then there's library time, health, and which health and personal development aren't incorporated until the upper grade levels 5 through 8. Um, Adventure PE, which I love the way that that's titled, because it really is a lot about connecting with being outside and exploring, but also full of content as well, full of learning about the body, learning about taking care of yourself, as well as really, really fun physical activities for kids. And then, of course, we have environmental education, which is also tied to sort of that environmental stewardship. So all of this is really part of that same EL framework. And the thing that I'm sort of most impressed by, or what sets us most apart in terms of our enrichment classes, to me, is the fact that our enrichment teachers really work closely with all the different grade level teachers, K-8, and they do collaborative projects together with the students, or work together on the expeditions or on different parts of their education. So the enrichment teachers, it's not just like, oh yeah, you go to PE and then you go back to wherever you came from. It's much, much more deeply connected, that what those enrichment teachers are doing is very, very wedded to that overall holistic approach to education. And then the last thing about enrichment classes that I wanted to be sure to tell you all about was that for our grades 6 through 8, we also have special elective classes. And these are classes that kids have a lot of influence over which ones they get to take. And also the enrichment teachers have a lot of creativity over which classes they want to offer. So like, for example, there's a Minecraft elective, and that's not just kids playing Minecraft, it's kids learning and educating through the game. There's also another elective on instrument making. So there are a lot of opportunities for kids to sort of pursue their passions, and for teachers to pursue their passions and get to share them with the students. So it's really special. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Brody to talk a little bit more about the enrichment experience.
Yeah, so Tim really said it awesome. And they are really just seamlessly like integrated with our classes. And it also helps. I love enrichment so much because both of my parents are enrichment teachers. So that also helps at this school. And kind of like crew, it's really taught to be, it's not really highlighted in our education, like Tim said, such as maybe music, typically outside of social studies class, you know? But there's a neat playoff because it really is just woven in there, like hiding in there. So an example of this was in 6th grade with, as you said, the Minecraft project. So our Minecraft project, we had an entire expedition about space, specifically Mars. And what we were doing was we were researching how we could sustainably have a settlement on Mars. And we used Minecraft and our Minecraft server as a way to do this. And that was amazing. And another example was back in 2nd grade when we used our climbing wall, which my mom helped create. We used the climbing wall with our expedition on pulleys, and it's called working machines, which is like pulleys and friction, physics, and all of these cool mechanics. We used beautiful example, top rope climbing, which is an example of a pulley. It's just a fantastic way to weave in, you know, academics with having a blast. So that's, I think, why enrichments are definitely one of my favorite parts of Evergreen.
Once again, my name is Julia Vaughn, and I am the Exceptional Children and 504 Coordinator. And Brody, you are a tough act to follow. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the differentiated services here at Evergreen. Evergreen has a wealth of differentiated services. In the Exceptional Children's Department, there are 4 teachers. They push into classes for intervention and pull out for small groups, or serve children in a one-on-one capacity depending on student needs. They're also an integral part of planning with the teachers to best serve the needs of the students. We have a speech therapist on staff, and we also offer occupational therapy, physical therapy, and counseling, which is contracted. We have 504 accommodations that are offered through 504 plans. We have an academic support team, 3 academic support teachers who push into classes and support small group remediation for students who don't have IEPs, but need support meeting grade level standards. Students are identified through Evergreen's care team. Each care team is made up of grade level teachers, academic support teachers, and administrators. The care team reviews student progress, identifies individual needs, sets goals, and identifies interventions, and monitors progress for each and every student. The academically or intellectually gifted program, we have 1 full-time and 1 part-time AIG teacher. Evergreen's AIG program is structured through a tier of service approach and offers a variety of services ranging from collaborative planning with classroom teachers to small group pullout enrichment or advancement classes. So now I'm going to hand it off to Cameron.
So our classrooms, as you can see, we have 2 classes at each grade level. I want to talk about the next couple of bullets, kind of break them up a little bit. And starting with our lead teachers. We have a lead teacher in each classroom, kindergarten through 4th grade, that teaches all of the content areas. In 5th and 6th grade, we have 2 lead teachers at each grade level, and 1 of the leads teaches science and social studies, and the other teaches language arts. Teaches math and science, and the other teaches language arts and social studies. So the students begin to have, in 5th and 6th grade, begin to have 2 teachers that they are working with. And then in 7th and 8th grade, there's a lead teacher for each content area. One for science, one for social studies, one's for English language arts, and one for math. And each of those teachers teaches 2 7th grade cohorts and 2 8th grade cohorts. The associate teachers that we have in kindergarten through 5th grade, there's one in each classroom, and they are truly another teacher in the classroom. They work directly with students in small groups, but also at the whole class level and as a support for the lead teachers. In grades 6 through 8, there's an associate teacher at each grade level. And those associate teachers also have teaching responsibilities, but they also do a lot of the behind the scenes work with scheduling field work and some of the end of year trips that are a really important part of the Evergreen experience. Our class sizes start at 22 through kindergarten and increase up to 26 through 5th through 8th grade. It's important to say that our classrooms go beyond the school building. Our students are using our outdoor classrooms. We have a couple of different areas that are used in that capacity. We have a trail that encircles our 10-acre campus that is used by students for different purposes. Excuse me. We have play spaces that is a really important part. Recess is part of the education that our students experience. And then lastly, our field work is an important piece, and I referenced that earlier. And Lucia is going to talk even more about field work.
Yeah, so field work is usually like we tie it into our expeditions. So an example of this is earlier this year in the fall of 8th grade, we had a big expedition on Appalachian storytelling. So then to tie into the unit we were doing in science, we traveled up into the Great Smoky Mountains, the national park, and we were working on citizen science. There is a place called Purchase Knob, and what they do there is they go up into the forest and they were monitoring salamanders. And so then later we were able to collect the data of the salamanders that we found out there. And then once we would get back to the classroom in a few days, we took a lot of notes on the data we collected. And then we created like presentations and how to analyze that and what that says about our environment and about the conditions of that forest. And another field work that we did in 7th grade was we were doing a unit in science on velocity and like forces in motion. So then we actually got to spend a whole day at Dollywood. We got to ride the roller coasters. So we could actually feel like examples of gravity and momentum. And then we would take notes on like the different parts of the roller coaster. And then later in the classroom, we were designing our own marble runs. And then that was a really cool way that we could connect what we were learning about in science and send something to go out and have a really good time.
Thanks, Lucia. I think that's my favorite field trip that I've gotten to chaperone as well over the years, is going to Dollywood and studying roller coasters. I'm going to speak to you a little bit about parent involvement at Evergreen. So as you've heard, lots of things are happening behind our doors and in our classrooms and on our campus. And part of the reason we can do so many different and cool things with students is because of our family support. So all families are invited to participate and engage in the Evergreen days and the Evergreen community. And that can look like volunteering in classrooms. It can look like driving for field work. It can look like taking classroom rags home and washing them, or providing other support to classrooms. We have parents who come and do copies for teachers. parents who support in the classrooms, especially during enrichment classes. And we really value your participation in the school and know that that deepens our students' learning and deepens our students' experience. Because we want you so much part of the classrooms and part of the school, we try to make sure we communicate frequently with parents. So there are weekly newsletters for classrooms and a weekly newsletter from the school that goes out with information on everything that's happening, not everything, many things that are happening in classrooms and the major things that parents need to know that are happening in school. We also parents to join our board or board committees as ways to help govern and be decision makers in the school. We have multiple board committees that all help as part of the board decision-making process to decide on policies and kind of bigger picture things for the school. One thing we ask you to do if you are a parent at Evergreen is to sign a partnership agreement. And this is something that we commit to as staff at Evergreen, and we ask families to commit to as well. The partnership agreement involves such things as being willing to engage in the school, supporting teachers, supporting each other as we work together to make sure that we share necessary information and that we are supporting students the best that we can. And one key piece I think that I want to just say is we used to have a requirement that families volunteer as part of like a commitment to being here. And we have changed that requirement to an invitation, in part because we know that engagement for families looks very different for different families based on circumstances, based on availability, based on work schedules, based on other kids. So we have plenty of ways to help you participate, and we invite you to find a way that works for you and know that we are happy to have a variety of different engagement. So another way that we involve families is by making sure we're giving you the information you need to support your kids. And this comes in a variety of ways. This comes in progress reports that go home 3 times a year that are giving you information on grades and on academic progress, and also habits of scholars progress, and then has comments so you can get an idea of what's happening from your teacher's perspective. We also have student-led conferences twice a year. The youngest kids have a parent-led or a parent-teacher conference the first half of the year, and then student-led later in the year. But one really cool thing about student-led conferences is this is a chance where you sit down with your kid and they tell you how they are doing and what kind of progress they're making, and you guys get to look at the growth that they have made together and really celebrate the growth, and then set goals based on what needs still appear. And the goals may be in math, the goals may be in reading, the goals may be in writing, or they may be in character, like habits of scholars, like responsibility and having materials organized, or they may be in all of those things. We also do state testing, and Tim is going to talk a little bit more about that, but we share results with you all as we go through the process. So I'll hand it off to Tim.
Yeah, so I have the distinct pleasure of being our testing coordinator. And so as a public school, we do participate in all mandated state standardized testing for reading, math, and in a couple of grade levels, science in 5th grade and 8th grade. And, I like to talk about state testing a little bit like getting checked out at the doctor. It's not something that anybody enjoys, but it can also give you useful information. And, I think that y'all who have been listening to this presentation recognize that we're into holistic education that's interdisciplinary and broad and deep. And so we don't spend a ton of time on test prep. And we also want to make testing, a lower stress situation, while at the same time also emphasizing to our students that anytime we want to do something, we want to do our very best. So you can see our results from last year here in reading, and notice a near 70% level of proficiency. And and that compares quite favorably to the state and to Buncombe County. So, I'd also just emphasize about the state testing that we recognize, even though we're proud of this result, we recognize that testing is just one measurement that is often overemphasized in many schools throughout the state. So we look at it as just one piece of information amongst many pieces of information. So if I could have the results from math, it's also, thank you very much. So you see the math scores also very strong, and that within how we get strong results, and if we're not doing test prep as much, the way that we do it is really by teaching students knowledge, skills, critical thinking, and problem solving. And we truly believe that if we are doing that and our classes are engaging and students are learning, then it will show up in higher state testing results, which is a great thing because it's something that we can share with other people and help to demonstrate the good work that's going on at our school. Yeah. So opportunities outside of class. A little bit about each one of these, student ambassadors is a tremendous leadership opportunity. And what I love about it is that it's not just students, sitting at a table and feeling like they're part of a cool club. It's really much more about work and service and helping us participate in events like this or lots of other events. And doing real meaningful leadership opportunities, which come with, true training for adult leadership. And we also participate in Odyssey of the Mind, which is a creative problem solving competition that is student run with parent volunteer support. It's a great club. We've been very successful with that over the years. Ski and snowboard club is super popular, and that is very, very fun. We also have lots of opportunities for students to explore the climbing walls and also ropes courses, both sort of indoor and outdoor activities there. And then mountain biking and mentor partnerships. So also not on this slide, we also offer several sports. So we are part of the Hospitality League that competes against other charter and private schools. And right now we're offering flag football, basketball, soccer, and ultimate frisbee. So some really, really fun stuff that a lot of our kids participate in, and a lot of our teachers really help as coaches and volunteers in that. It's great opportunities outside of class. Also, we know that many families need options for extended care due to work schedules. I count myself among them. So we offer comprehensive fee-based services for families. One of our fee-based programs is our after-school program called Ever After. And Ever After is open to students from other schools as well as Evergreen students. And families have to complete enrollment and pay a one-time enrollment fee, and then are welcome to use Ever After on a regular or drop-in basis for a daily fee. And then Ever After also participates in offering clubs and adventure programs on kind of a rotating basis. And financial assistance is available for families who qualify. It's a great program. I love going over there and seeing the kids playing and enjoying each other. So that is really cool. And other fee-based services through, okay, there we go, is that we have before school care and summer adventures. So before school care is that you can drop kids off at 7:30 to our school for a fee of $5 per day. And then also there's summer camp offered when we're, completely out for school. And there's more information on the website, and also financial assistance is available for before school. So those fee-based services are a critical service that we provide to all of our families.
So again, just to introduce myself, I'm Kelly Stevenson. I am the Student Services and Data Manager. I'm really excited to have this slide on our slide deck this year. This is the first time we've been able to add this one. So starting in 2022, we were able to hire a nutritionist at Evergreen. And this year, we are excited to be participating in the National School Lunch Program. This is a federal program that offers reimbursement to our school for free and reduced priced breakfasts and lunches. We are currently the only charter school in Western North Carolina that participates in the National School Lunch Program. And we are one of only 2 charter schools in the state of North Carolina. So we do not currently have a commercial kitchen on our campus. That is something that we hope to have one day. But now we are partnering with the Equal Plates Project at Southside Kitchen, and they provide healthy homemade lunches using mostly locally grown produce. So they bring our lunches to us every day. Again, meals are provided free of charge to students who qualify as economically disadvantaged. These meals at full price are $1.25 for a snack, $2.75 for breakfast, and lunch is $5.75. And of course, students can bring their own lunch or snack from home if they choose to. All right, some logistics, our school calendar. So our school year begins in August and runs through June. And then we have a winter break and a spring break. We also have a fall break and a break in either February or March, depending on sort of how the calendar runs that year. And when we're planning this school calendar, we try as much as possible to align with Asheville City Schools and Buncombe County Schools. So there is a required orientation day. That is our first day of school. This next school year, the first day of school will be August 20th. It is a half day, and it is a required orientation for parents and students. So during that day, it's a real important time to cover expectations for learning, attendance, and a lot more about what to expect for the school year. A typical school day, classes begin at 8:30 a.m. On Mondays at Evergreen, all students dismiss at 1:35. And then Tuesday through Friday, we stagger the dismissal to make the car line move a little bit more slow, a little bit more effectively. Kindergarten through 2nd grade dismisses at 2:50 p.m. Grades 3 through 5 dismiss at 3 o'clock, and grades 6 through 8 dismiss at 3:15. And again, as Tim mentioned, fee-based before school begins at 7:30 a.m., but it's free between 7:55 and 8:15. And then our after-school program runs until 6. We currently do not have buses that transport students to and from school, so we strongly encourage families to join carpools. And I keep a pretty extensive list of families who are willing to carpool and what area of town they live in, and we'll connect families who are interested in utilizing carpools in that way. All right, entering the lottery. So applications to the lottery are open right now. They opened on January 1st and will be open until March 31st, and you can apply online. We do have some preference groups in our lottery. Economically disadvantaged families have a priority in our lottery, as well as students who have siblings who are already enrolled, students of full-time staff members, and students of board members who have served on the board for at least a year and are in good standing. Our lottery this year is going to be held on April 11th at 9:00 a.m. That will be available to watch via Zoom. It's not a whole lot to watch, but you're welcome to join on Zoom and watch that. And then the results of the lottery, I usually say, are going to be at least available and verified by April 12th. But generally, I will get that done on the day of the lottery by 3 p.m. And then we have our waiting list for students who don't get in the first time. We create a waiting list. We hold on to that waiting list until December 31st of that school year, and then we start all over again. So we don't enroll after winter break. Evergreen does not discriminate based on race, gender, religion, or ethnicity. Evergreen recognizes the social and educational value of a diverse leadership, staff, and student community. To that end, we actively seek and encourage board member and employee applications from qualified individuals representing diverse social, ethnic, and racial groups. Furthermore, all students eligible to attend North Carolina Public Schools are encouraged to participate in our lottery. What's next, Jen? We're going to answer some questions.
Yep, we're going to answer some questions. So if you have further questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat and we will try to answer as many as we can tonight. And then if we don't get to all of them today, we will send out an FAQ, or if there's some we can't answer, we will send out an FAQ and answer them later. One question I saw earlier in the chat was whether Kelly Stevenson was the best person to schedule about a contact about a tour. And the answer is yes, she is the best person to contact.
Yes, we can give tours. We give tours every Monday at 9 a.m. I strongly encourage you, if you can, join a tour at 9 a.m. on Monday. Those are really our best ones. As you've seen in this meeting today, those are led by our great student ambassadors. And so you really get a good snapshot of what it's like to be a student at Evergreen. But if you can't make Monday at 9 a.m., reach out to me and we can get you in some other time.
There's another question in the chat about looking at foreign language options, and that is something at this point we have decided not to pursue. We don't have the funding to make it meaningful enough to be worth offering at this point. So we realize that we can't do everything, and that is one area that we have decided we will let go of.
There will be a recording of this on our website, hopefully tomorrow, if not Monday.
I see a question about robotics and building clubs. Typically students can't build their own clubs, but middle school students do have some time to do some independent study projects in their flex time. And then there are times when enrichment teachers offer electives that might include robotics or type clubs. And that could be something that a student could request, and if we can do it, we would do it. There is coding instruction and technology class. Kids start pretty young. Brody and Lucia, is it called Scratch? Is that one of the main program that you use for coding when you're like in elementary school? Okay,
Yeah.
so there's coding instruction throughout at age appropriate levels and in age appropriate ways for kids. Yes. Go ahead.
I was going to answer the question about a formal definition for economically disadvantaged families. There is. If you go to our website on the Prospective Families page and scroll down just a bit, you can see the income guidelines for economically disadvantaged to get in the priority for that. So, and then there are, if you are offered a spot and you are in the economically disadvantaged priority group, you will need to provide some documentation within 7 days of the lottery, or within 7 days of when you get offered a spot, to show that you qualify as economically disadvantaged. So I would encourage you, if you are economically disadvantaged, you can either go ahead and send me that documentation if you would like. If you are unable to provide it within 7 days, then you will move to the bottom of the wait list. If you think that you're on the edge and might not qualify as economically disadvantaged, go ahead and get your paperwork together. If you think you don't qualify and you were in as qualifying, then we can pull you out of that priority group and you'll just be in the general lottery.
Another question is about Monday early dismissals. We do provide ever aftercare on Mondays as well. It starts at 1:35 and goes till 6 p.m. and it is still fee-based like the other days. But the fee is a flat fee, so it's not any different on Mondays.
We for about the ratios in the lottery, so we generally have about 275 applicants to our kindergarten lottery. That's for 44 spots. Of those 44 spots, about half are going to be taken up by students in a priority group. The school calendar for next year is on our website already.
And I see a question about early dismissal and teacher workdays. Because we have the Monday early dismissal, we don't have other early dismissal days built in to our regular calendar. We do have a few teacher workdays through the year. I'm looking at this year's calendar for a reference because it's on my board. We have I would just say we have a few built into the calendar each year. It's not a huge number. A couple of them are built into February break. A couple of them are built, there's one in November and there's one in January before we come back from winter break as well. We try to do as much as we can to not have a lot of chunky days for you so that you don't have a lot of days where you're out, when we're out of school or you're having to pick kids up early and things like that. So that's nice.
No, I'll add something to what Kelly was saying about the ratios and the 270 in kindergarten. It is not 270 at every grade level. As the grade levels increase, the number of applicants decreases. And Kelly, you might be able to to give a little bit more information, but definitely the bulk of our applications are kindergarten first and second. And then lessening all the way through 8th grade where there are just a handful.
Yeah, it's different for every grade. Once somebody specifically asking about 1st grade, we usually have about 75 applicants to 1st grade. And we know that we're going to have 4 spots because we increased the class size. 2nd grade, we have about 60 applicants. This is just off the top of my head. 60 applicants. I'll get all these actual numbers and put them on the Q&A sheet that we'll post on our website. But I will say that 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade are probably the hardest. We have the least amount of spots available for those grades.
All right, if there are no final questions, we will say thank you and have a good evening. We really appreciate you taking your time to come listen on Zoom to us. And if you have more questions moving forward, there's plenty of information on our website on the Prospective Parents section, and you can also reach out to us and ask questions along the way. So thank you for being here.